The footsteps outside my door. Last night, I was awakened from a shallow slumber sometime after midnight by the sound of footsteps plodding up the stairs outside my apartment. I live in a unit above a garage, and the staircase leads right to my front door. It's a small place, so the door is barely 20 feet away from where I sleep. I thought I was still dreaming when I heard the first rhythmic pounding of footfalls going up and back down again. But I didn't want to take the chance that I was wrong. So I pulled myself out of bed and went to check if anyone was there. I switched on the outside light and peered through the corner of the curtain, but all I saw was the empty, rain-slickened street below. I returned to bed and tried to quiet my mind until a drowsy mist rolled in. Snippets of conversations and distorted images of the past flitted around me, lulling me into night's familiar embrace. The noise of footsteps cut through it all, tearing me back into reality. I leapt forth to my feet and rushed to the door, nearly ripping the curtain off of its rod as my eyes flew back and forth, searching wildly for any sign of the footsteps' source. Still, there was nothing. I waited and strained my ears to listen for any hint of noise above the pitter-patter of the icy rain hitting the roof. But my vigil went unrewarded, and my eyelids grew heavy. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly 3 in the morning. I couldn't fight off sleep any longer, so I shambled back to my bed and succumbed to exhaustion. I opened my eyes, but refused to move. I wouldn't keep playing this game. I knew what would happen if I responded to the intrusion upon my rest, so I just remained still. Up and down the stairs they went, again and again. The footsteps were moving faster, the footfalls heavier and more urgent. My pulse outpaced them, but not by much. Every muscle in my body twitched and became rigid, but I held back my urge to jump out of bed. It would only cause me more frustration. The footsteps suddenly ceased. A long, silent moment passed, as not even my breath could be heard. I agonized as to whether I could fully close my eyes and forget about the sounds, when a quiet rattle echoed through the apartment. It was brief at first, but then it rang out again, this time louder. The next time it came, I realized what it was. Someone was trying, furiously, to turn the brass knob on my front door. I was no longer in control of my body as I darted out of bed and towards the noise, moving on pure instinct and adrenaline. My hand snapped at the baseball bat leaning against the nearby wall, and I tore back the curtain. My heart leapt into my throat when a dark face glared back at me, and I cocked my bat ready to swing. When my senses returned in time to recognize I was looking at my own reflection in the lightly frosted glass, I laughed with myself as relief poured over me. But the moment was short-lived. My bedroom door slammed behind me, causing me to whirl around, my hackles once again raised. I went to open it, but it was locked. I shook the doorknob, trying to jostle it loose to no avail. However, when I released it in defeat, the rattling didn't stop. As fear gripped my chest, I stared wide-eyed at the knob as it strained against the lock to turn back and forth. Another rattling began as I turned to see my front doorknob was being shaken as well. I retreated into the far corner of the room as the footsteps returned. From the other side of my bedroom door, the sound of someone's heavy pacing joined the terrifying cacophony. I felt trapped, unsure of what to do. Part of me wanted to just break down the door, but the small bit of rationality that still clung to my mind reminded me that destroying my apartment door over a disembodied noise would certainly lose me my much-needed deposit. By this point, I couldn't even discern how close the sounds had come, as I'd shut my eyes tight. I waited for a cold hand to reach out and seize me at any second, feeling the looming threat hovering inches away. And then, everything stopped. I still didn't open my eyes, fearing what I might see if I did. The thunderous ticking of my clock thrummed in my ears as the seconds wore away. This stretched into minutes, and nothing else came. When I finally willed my eyelids to part, it was merely my night-soaked apartment lying before me. Looking towards my bedroom, the door sat ajar. I stood up and let out the stale air in my lungs, not realizing I'd been holding my breath. I snapped on the lights inside my apartment, casting it an all-blinding yellow glow. As my sight adjusted to it, I again scanned the area, but everything seemed to be exactly as it should. I opened my front door and found nothing, just as before. Unable to explain what just happened, I closed the door again, making sure it was locked, and headed back to my room. The rush of terror that had been keeping me awake slowly ebbed from my veins until I was barely able to stand up, so I collapsed into bed. Trying to get comfortable, I kicked at my sheets and felt that they were damp near the bottom. I tossed them aside and touched my feet, realizing they were wet. I pulled the string on the lamp next to my bed and turned it on and glanced at the floor beside my bed. All across it were rain-drenched footprints going back and forth past my bedroom door.